Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Reeby, Principal of Vanderveer Elementary School.
And I'm Dr. Tian, Superintendent of Schools.
We are so excited to welcome everyone to our Vanderveer Evening Learning Academy.
You are all in for weeks and weeks of enjoyment.
You will be learning alongside your very own Vanderveer teachers.
Also, we have teachers and administrators from across the district that will be bringing you fun learning experiences.
You will become scientists, engineers, mathematicians, writers, world explorers, and learn to communicate in different languages as you explore concepts in math, reading, writing, science, social studies, world language, and so many more.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we encourage you to visit often and view other lessons in our learning library as we add to the videos each week. Enjoy!
Hi, super scientist. I am so glad you joined me today to talk about the water cycle. I am Mrs. Lazarte and I teach second grade here at Vanderveer. Today we're going to go through our lesson about the water cycle, and at the end we'll make a model to show one part of the water cycle. So let's begin. Before we get started, I want you to think about some questions you might have about the water cycle. I want you to take a minute to think about one or two questions that you might have, and you can discuss them with someone at home. You can pause my video and restart it when you're ready to move on. Before scientists begin studying a subject, usually they have questions that they want to answer. So I tried to think of some questions that you might have about the water cycle. And by the end of my lesson with you, you're definitely going to be able to answer these questions. So let's look at them. The first question I thought you might have is, what is the water cycle? Maybe you've never heard of it before, or maybe you're not really sure what it is. We will go through what the water cycle is, and you'll have your answer by the end of the lesson. Another question I thought you might have is, what makes it rain or snow? It's been raining so much lately, and this past winter, we had a lot of snow here in New Jersey. So you might be thinking, what makes it rain or snow? How do the clouds decide when it's time for it to rain or snow? And we're going to get to the bottom of that answer as well. Another question that goes with all the weather we've been having is, what happens to water when it disappears after raining or snowing? Where does it go? We had a lot of snow and eventually it disappeared. And we've been having a lot of rain and eventually that disappears too. So we're going to work through the water cycle and learn what happens to that water. As super scientists, I want to introduce you to some vocabulary words that you will hear and learn about in this lesson. We're not going to go over the definitions, but I want you to just get familiar with hearing them. I also want to see who knows some of these words, maybe the definitions of these words, and what words we've never heard of. So what we're going to do is something I like to do with my classes is a thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down, and I'll explain to you. So when I say the vocabulary word, you're going to think to yourself, first, have you heard that word before? And then second, do you know what that word means? If you know both of them, you're going to put a thumbs up to the screen. If you ask yourselves those questions and you know the word, but you're not sure of the definition, you're going to put your thumb sideways. And then finally, if you don't know the word and you don't know the definition, you're just going to give me a thumbs down. Any of your answers is great. I just want to get a sense to see what we already know. Let's go. The first word here in red is the word evaporation. And I want you to echo that back to me. I'm going to say it again. Evaporation. Wow, you guys are great whisperers. Okay, so ask yourselves those questions. Do you know this word? Maybe you've heard it before or you read it before. And do you know the definition? If you do, give me a thumbs up. If you've heard the word before or read the word before, but you're not quite sure of the definition, give me a thumbs to the side. And if you've never heard of that word and you don't know the definition, just give me a thumbs down. By the end, you're going to know all these words. Oh, I see a lot of people have heard this word, and a few of you know the definition. Excellent. Okay, let's move on to our second word here in orange. And this word is condensation. And I'm going to have you echo it back to me. Great job. And I want you to think the same questions. Have you heard or read this word before, and do you know the definition? Have you heard the word or read the word before, but you're not sure of the definition? And have you never heard the word or you don't know the definition? Thumbs down. Okay, I see this one's not as familiar to some of you, so we'll definitely make sure that everyone understands what condensation means. Okay, let's move on to our green vocab word. And this word is precipitation. Now, you might have heard of this word if you've ever listened to a weather report or if you've ever watched the Weather Channel. They use this word a lot. So think to yourself, have you ever heard this word or read this word? And do you know the definition? Have you heard the word but don't know the definition? Or you've never heard the word and you don't know the definition? Ooh, most of you have heard this word. Excellent. And a lot of you also know the definition. That will be helpful in our water cycle. Okay, our next word here in blue is the word collection. Now, you might have heard this word before, but maybe you're not sure. What does this have to do with the water cycle? So think to yourself, have you heard this word or read this word and know the definition? You read or heard this word, but not sure of the definition or what it would do with the water cycle, or thumbs down if you've never heard and you don't know the definition. Almost everyone's heard this word before. Great. Some of you are not so sure what the definition has to do with the water cycle. We'll get to it. And our last word here in this light blue is the word water vapor. Why don't you echo back to me? Water vapor. Good. That's 2 words here. And you're going to be thinking just like the others, have you heard it and you know the definition? You've heard it and you're not sure what it is, and you've never heard it and you don't know the definition. Okay, so for this word, a lot of you have never heard it and you don't know the definition. Guess what? Like I said with the rest, you'll definitely know it by the end of our presentation. So let's get started learning about the water cycle. Okay, let's get started talking about the water cycle. If you look, here is a diagram of how the water cycle flows. You'll see some of the important vocabulary words that we went over earlier. Here is our sun, which is a very important part of the water cycle. It gives energy to the water in order for it to move throughout the water cycle. Here's our first question. What is the water cycle? Simply, it's the movement of water on Earth that continues over and over again. All these things are actually happening at once. The water just doesn't evaporate and then goes to condensation. These are all happening at the same time, over and over again. The first step on our water cycle is evaporation, and here it is in our diagram. It's showing that the water is going up, and it also uses these red squiggly lines. That helps us to remember that during evaporation, the water is puddled, or it may be in your yard, or it may be in the ocean or another body of water. And what happens is the sun warms the water and the water starts rising. And as it rises, it turns into water vapor. There's that other vocab word that we talked about earlier. What is water vapor? Water vapor is the gas form of water. So as it rises and warms up and it turns into water vapor, we can no longer see it because it's now a gas. The water vapor rises into the air until it gets high enough to form a cloud. And that's where we're going to go next, is condensation. Okay, moving right along into condensation. Here we go. So the water has evaporated, it's turned into water vapor, and now as it rises, it cools down again. And when it cools down again, it becomes liquid water again. So it's changing from liquid to gas back into liquid. When the water turns back into liquid water, it forms into clouds. As the clouds get colder, tiny water droplets are formed, and they kind of hang out in the clouds. until the clouds get too full and they can't hold all that water. And now we're going to move into the next stage, which is precipitation. Okay, we left off that the water is filling up the clouds and it's just getting too heavy for the clouds. So our next step in the water cycle is precipitation. Okay, so once the clouds are too full to hold all the water droplets, the water falls back down to earth. It could fall in different forms. It can fall in rain, snow, or hail. And how it falls depends on the temperature outside. So we know that in the winter, a lot of times it's colder, and when the clouds fill up, it will fall back down to earth as snow. But now we're seeing that the temperatures are warmer around here, and the precipitation that is falling is rain because the temperature is warmer. Now that it's falling back to earth, where does it go? Now it's time to move on to collection. Okay, now the last stop on the water cycle is collection. The water is falling back down to earth, but what happens next? Many different things can happen. It can fall into a body of water like an ocean or a lake or a river or a stream. The precipitation can also form puddles. It recently rained a lot, like I had mentioned earlier, so you might have seen some puddles on sidewalks or in your driveway or in a parking lot. Or it can be absorbed. That means it goes down into the ground and then it's underground. So different things can happen to the water once it falls back down to earth. I have a question for you though. What do you think happens next? If you guessed evaporation, great job. You really understand the water cycle. If we look at collection, yep, evaporation is next. And our water cycle starts it all over again. Into evaporation, condensation, precipitation, back again to collection. Awesome job. You are a super scientist. Now we are going to make our model of precipitation. So if you have your materials, your clear container, your shaving cream, your water, and your food coloring, you can put it in front of you and follow along. If you need a minute to go get those things, no problem. Just pause my video like you did earlier, and you can restart it when you're ready to go. Okay, it's time to make our model of precipitation. And I forgot to mention earlier that if you don't have the materials today, it's okay. You can follow along, see how it's done, and then you can always come back to my video and make it with us another time. Or these slides will be posted on the website, and you can always just follow along using the slides. It's really up to you. But let's get started. So the materials needed, like I mentioned earlier, are a glass or clear container, shaving cream, water, and different colors of food coloring. 2 to 3 colors is just perfect. The steps to follow. We're going to fill the container halfway with the water. We're going to then put a thin layer of shaving cream on top. We're going to pick 2 colors of food coloring, and we're going to put 6 to 8 drops of that food coloring on top of the shaving cream. And then we're going to observe what is happening in your clear container. I want to talk a little bit about what everything means and how it is connected to the water cycle. So when we fill the container halfway with water, we are pretending that's the sky. I know it's water, but we need the water to be filled that much because we need the clouds, which is the shaving cream, to sit on top. The 6 to 8 drops of food coloring is going to be representing the condensation part, where those water droplets are getting so heavy in the cloud. And then, of course, we'll see what happens. Okay, super scientist, we are ready for our model. As you see, I have my materials here, my glass jar with my water filled just above the halfway line. I also have my shaving cream and my food coloring ready to go. Now, I want to make a thin layer of shaving cream on top of the water. I don't want it to be too thick or the model might not show us what we want to see, but you can always go back and try with different thickness. Here I am, I'm adding my shaving cream. Whoops, I'm almost running out. Here we go, and I have my layer of clouds that I made with my shaving cream. Now I'm going to take my food coloring And I'm going to add some drops. And these again are representing the water droplets that occur during condensation in the water cycle. And there you go. The water droplets got too heavy for the rain to hold it, for the clouds to hold it, and it's turned into precipitation. Okay, there are the droplets, and there is the precipitation that was made. And we can even here see the collection at the bottom as well. What happens to the rain once it hits back down to earth? It's collecting towards the bottom. I'm going to add a few more drops to the side just so we can see it again. There we go, more precipitation falling from the clouds. Okay, so this is our model. Excellent job. Okay, let's discuss our models. If you followed along and made the model with me, let's discuss. And even if you didn't, that's okay. Like I said earlier, you can always come back to this video or to the slides on the website and talk about these questions with someone at home. So I'd like to hear from you. What did you observe in your model? Ooh, someone said it was just like my model. Awesome. Ooh, I hear someone else saying that theirs took a little longer. I wonder why that was. You think it's because your clouds were thicker? That definitely could be the reason. If there's more cloud, it can definitely hold more water or more food coloring. I want you to look at your model right now. Were your clouds thick or thin? Did it take longer for the precipitation to start than it did for mine? And that kind of goes with what someone just said earlier, that, yeah, it took a little longer. What you can do is, you can always try this again. Try making your clouds different thicknesses and see what happens. Make a really thick cloud. Make a really thin cloud. See if there's a difference in how much food coloring your clouds can hold. Have some fun with it. I know that we covered a lot learning about the water cycle today, so I thought it would be fun if we thought of ways that we can use to remember the water cycle. What's a way? Does anyone out there have any ideas? Ooh, someone said draw it and keep a poster. That's a great idea. What's another way you think? Ooh, can we learn a little hand movements maybe? That could definitely help us. Let's start with that way first. Okay, so if we look at our diagram, let's think of how we can move our hands to help us remember the water cycle. Let's look at evaporation. Evaporation is showing the water going up. Let's see. Maybe if we move our hands up, evaporation, and we say that word evaporation, it will help us remember that that is one of the steps. Let's try it again. Evaporation. Our next step shows the clouds. Maybe we can make clouds with our hands. Oh, you think that's a great idea? Let's try it. Here's some clouds. Fluff some clouds. Okay, excellent. Let's try one more time. Fluff some clouds. Great. Our next step is precipitation. That's showing the water going back down. So with evaporation, we went up, but maybe precipitation, we can go down. Show those reading fingers. And then finally, our last part is collection, where the water's just staying. Somewhere, some body of water, either big or small. Okay, let's do collection one more time. And look, my hands are even making C's back to back. Okay, let's see if we can put that all together. Ready? Let's go. Evaporation, condensation, our clouds, precipitation, and collection. One more time. Evaporation, condensation, making our clouds, precipitation, falling down, collection at the bottom. Wow! So that's something you can practice at home, and that's a way that you can help show someone at home what the water cycle is. Let's see if we can think of more ways. So I heard before other ways people said to practice the water cycle. You can make your own poster and hang it in your room or on your refrigerator and practice the different steps every day. You can write a song or a poem about it. I know some people out there are really creative and can make a song or poem to help you remember the water cycle. And of course, you can visit the website for more resources. Have some fun with the water cycle. Get to know it. Enjoy the story about the water droplets adventure.
What bright sunshine with such a blue sky. Yes, but I think it's too hot today. That's nothing. I really like sunshine. Hey sun, shine brighter. Oh, what's happening to you? You're disappearing. I can't see you at all. Really? I do feel different. I'm now so light, I feel like I'm floating. What a horror! She's turned into a vapor, and now she's going to fly away who knows where. It's all because of the sun. Oh, poor friend of mine. I'd better hurry to hide from the heat. How beautiful! I see our entire lake. I wonder where I'm going. Perhaps to meet new adventures and miracles. Oh my! I didn't know that the world was so big and beautiful. But it's starting to get chilly. What's that right above me? Oh, it's a cloud. It's so huge when you get close. Wouldn't it be exciting to get inside? Wow, so many droplets here. Hi, everyone. Hello, newcomer. That's awesome. I didn't know I'd meet so many fellow droplets in the cloud. Oh, what's going on with my dress? It's changing again. It's because you were a water vapor in the air, and now you've turned into fog. All clouds consist of fog, very small water droplets. That's what your dress turned into, just like all of us. Ah, I see. In order to fly up, I became water vapor. That's why my friend said she couldn't see me. Now, I'm fog, and look just like a cloud. We flew so far from my home lake. I wonder what lies ahead of me. Oh, my dress. Now, it's the same as it was when I was in the lake. What does it mean? It means you're about to fall down as rain. Look, my dress is watery too. It means it's time to go. Ready to jump? I'm scared. We aren't going to crash, are we? Don't worry. They're all really waiting for us down on Earth. Well then, let's jump. Here comes the Earth. Look, flowers, grass, and trees are happy to meet us. Yes, it certainly was worth jumping from that height. Ouch! Well, I guess I didn't fall apart.
Wow, that sure was fun making that model with you. You have one job left, and that is to tell someone at home about the water cycle and what happens to water on Earth. Also, be sure to check the website to see additional resources about the water cycle. Thank you so much for joining me and for being a super scientist. Have a great day.